a very special interview for you from someone that might be the person that just kicked off this entire NBA investigation. A fascinating story from our guest coming up here in a second, Philip Wiszowaty. But before we do that, just if you guys have missed this, there's been a big story that broke today that NBA coach Chauncey Billups has been involved in poker game rigging, where essentially they were using some of the techniques we've discussed here on the channel, where basically they were cheating other players out of their money in a game, and he was involved in that allegedly, according to this FBI investigation. And also we saw Terry Rozier under investigation for sports betting, where he was essentially like fixing matches by trying to purposely not hit player point totals. So both these investigations ongoing. We saw 34 people charged and arrested in this. A fascinating situation has just only now begun. I'm sure more information will come forward, and we will continue to cover that here on the channel. But what we're going to talk about today is the origin of that story, what might be the first domino that kicked off every single step along the way for this story to get to where it is today, including what happened with Gilbert Arenas, or rather what might have gotten that going. A little earlier this year, we saw Gilbert Arenas arrested for raking in illegal underground games. But we're even going to a step before that. And with that, I want to introduce today's guest, who has a truly fascinating story to tell you today. We are joined by Philip Wiszowaty. Philip, thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Okay, so let's just kind of kick it off here, just top level. Can you tell us a little bit about your backstory, who you are, just so that the audience knows?
Sure. My name is Philip Wiszowaty. Some people in the poker world know me as Dazzo. And I've been playing poker since 2003, the Chris Moneymaker days. I'm previously a Supernova Elite VIP status on PokerStars. So I've played a lot of poker. I got into crypto. I have some crypto companies, startups, but mostly I'm a poker player. And we'll get into more details later, but there was definitely some cheating accusations that get brought up in the LA Times article that I'd like to address later too, that I hope that my record in the poker world has some meaning with regard to that, because there definitely was no cheating.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if you made Supernova Elite, it's a very small elite group of people, I guess I shouldn't use that word, that make that award. It was like basically a very high volume program on PokerStars. You had to play a ton. I was a huge grinder. I 24 tabled all the time. I never made it there. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. So let's start off with the basics. Let's go back to right before COVID, or right as COVID kicked off. Let's start at your story at the beginning.
Sure. So COVID happens, and it was a very uncertain time, and no one really knew what was going to happen. And I decided that it would be a good time to bring on a financial investor to back me in the poker games, to kind of de-risk myself. So that's what I did. And at the time, during the COVID lockdown, I'm sure many of you remember the poker games were really booming. Like there was a lot of action when everybody was stuck at home. And so that's what kind of kicked off this staking deal with a local backer. His name was Asher Akrawi, and he was from Detroit.
Okay,
along with myself. Yeah, go ahead.
Right, go ahead.
So yeah, Asher was from Detroit, and started backing me, and I started doing well in the beginning. Eventually, I moved up, and I took a shot at a Florida-based club that I had heard about, but I knew it was big, and I was kind of waiting to actually be able to afford it. But I started doing well with Asher on this COVID stake, and before I knew it, I was taking a shot in this big Florida club, and I believe they were playing either 10, 20, 40 or 15, 30, 60 PLO in that club. So I started playing in that club, and got off to a good start there as well. So things are just cruising with Asher, with this Asher stake. Things are going great, and I go on an upswing in this Florida club, and they send a $300,000 wire transfer to Asher. because
So just step in for a second. So you have a stake agreed to by this Osher guy, where I assume he puts up the money and you guys are splitting the winnings 50-50. That's kind of the classic deal, right?
correct.
Okay, so he puts the money up, and then you played in this on an app, like one of the app games that people can play in, that like underground app games, essentially.
Yeah, it was on the Poker 2 app, and it was ran by a guy named Mike Morton. They call him Meatball. So the club was called the Meat Lounge.
Okay, gotcha. So now you're playing in the Meat Lounge, backed by Asher, and you go on quite an upswing, and you win several $100,000.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
So they send Meatball sends a 300K wire transfer to Osher, and the following week, pretty much, Meatball decides to host a live game in Florida. So he sends all the online players the invite. And a lot of us flew in, and he had multiple tables. It was a big event, and the swings were crazy. We're playing like 200, 400 PLO. Sometimes there's like 800 straddle, 1600 straddle.
That is insane.
And so the first night in this live game, I continue the hot streak. I make $440,000 in the first night, and it was scheduled to be a 2 or a 3-day event. Day 2 was the biggest loss of my life. In any single day of poker, I lost $1,076,000 on day 2 of this live poker event that Meatball was hosting. I believe it was in Hollandale Beach, Florida.
By the way, that's a giant loss. I mean, like, I think my biggest loss is right around there, although it was playing Isildur heads up online. It wasn't with anyone named Meatball, that's for sure. But when you lost that much money when you were sitting there, did you feel like the game that you were in was a legit game?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was legit.
Okay.
However, I will say I after the loss, I think I mentioned to you earlier that I stayed at Meatball's house for 3 weeks trying to collect money from Osher and continue. Osher is telling me to continue playing online. So I kept playing.
Let's just pause for a second. I'll just help you out. So, because we've talked about the story before, but so basically you lose this money, right? So now you owe Meatball this money to be paid, and Osher, who's your backer, has agreed to pay beforehand, but now he's not sending the money and instead wants you to stay with Meatball and try and grind it out online to make money back, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And that doesn't go well. And I immediately sent Meatball, I believe, $80,000 the same night out of my savings, everything I had, pretty much, just to like send something. I just lost a bunch of money. But Osher never came through. Later on, we eventually got a little, like a fraction of the money from him, like I think $100,000 through somebody else. I don't think he ever even paid that guy. But so we never really collected from Osher. He kind of got off scot-free. He actually he went and opened a restaurant in Florida. Osher did. He opened in Miami. It's called Gecko, and this is partly owned by David Grootman. I think he's like one of the most famous restaurateurs in America, and I think Bad Bunny is a part owner as well, our Super Bowl performer this year. So that's what Osher did with the money. I can't even get a hold of the guy. He's just a ghost. But that's how I met Meatball. I suddenly found myself owing $1 million to these Florida people, and it's not a good feeling. It was a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, and tough time. But somehow I was able to climb out of this. Within 9 months, I was able to square up the whole thing.
So Asher didn't pay the $1 million that you owed to Meatball, and then in 9 months you grinded through that to make the money to pay Meatball back yourself.
I refused a discount. They tried to get me to take a discount. I would not take a discount. I insisted. I'm paying every dollar. I'm not taking a discount. And the way that I was able to pay that money is that after that big losing trip in Florida, Meatball offered to stake me himself. Everybody has a bad couple days or weeks, but Meatball recognized that he thought I was a winning player and he wanted to stake me, despite the major loss prior.
Right.
So I was able to go on approximately a $2 million upswing in Meatball's games within 9 months, which totally settled the balance.
Right. Okay. For just out of curiosity, when you met a man named Meatball, were you kind of like, hey, can I get like a real name here? Or like, no, we're just going to roll with this?
It was definitely a little odd. And if you look at his picture, he kind of looks like a meatball too.
Oh, his name was Mike Morton, right? That's what you said. You said his name too.
Yes, sir. Mike
Okay.
Morton.
Okay, gotcha.
I think he's based out of Fort Lauderdale.
So you have this crazy experience in Florida. You're grinding these games out, and now somehow it's transitions to LA. If I'm correct.
Yeah. So right after I go on the $2 million upswing and clear the debt, I have a fresh slate now, and Meatball decides he's gonna take his operation over to Hollywood, California, and this is early 2021. Maybe springtime 2021, he goes to Hollywood, and he starts, he had a couple contacts out there. He was able to get into these circles and get into some of the high stakes private Omaha games. And of course, his intent was to, get to know, network a little bit, meet some people, and then host his own game. That was, the goal. So he invites me out there. Springtime, I believe, late spring of 2021. I just cleared the debt, and I'm excited to go play in Hollywood. I've never been out there, and I think my first game that I went to, I walk in and you got Paul Pierce sitting right there, and I think he was sitting next to Irv Gotti. So that's my first game I'm walking into.
Like, damn, these games are good.
Yeah. Yeah, very interesting crowd. So I play maybe a week or two. I'd have to double check, but a short trip. I fly back to Detroit. I don't think I made anything significant or lost anything significant. I go back to Detroit, and maybe a month or two later, he invites me back out. And by this time, he was hosting his own game, I believe. I'd have to think about it, what the setup looked like. But shortly after, maybe he didn't have his own game. Maybe the first game he had was at this house that we'll talk about. I'd have to think about it. But
okay. Well,
anyway,
sorry. Go ahead.
Anyway, Meatball starts his own game at this mansion, and this is a famous house. They call it the Glass House. It's 4 stories, floor-to-ceiling windows, and previously owned by Justin Bieber.
Let me see if I can pull this up. Keep talking. Let me see if I can just
6447 Wide Lake.
Oh, we can put the address still?
Yep.
All right, send it to me again.
6447 Wide Lake, WEID Lake. I believe that's it.
Oh, I see it. Okay, so here we go. This is what it is. I'll quickly go over to, I can add my screen in, I think. And present. We'll add a little context here. Why not?
Yeah, and I believe the rent was $40,000 per month.
Okay, so it's this house, right?
Correct. Yep.
And you said I think you said at some point that like Bieber used to be here or something.
Yeah, I believe if you dig deep enough, you'll see that he was like the neighbors were complaining about Bieber throwing too big of parties.
Wow,
and like 2 doors down from this house was another mansion, and we had Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox that were living 2 doors down. And we'd drive by, they're shooting music videos in the street.
That's crazy.
Yeah, very cool spot. I had a lot of fun, but I also have a lot of bad memories from this. we'll get into more details about that.
So how'd the game end up at the Glass House? Like, who owns the Glass House? How did poker games start getting running there? Like, what happened?
Yeah. A man named Craig Franze, Franze. He is in the adult entertainment industry and has his hand in many strip clubs, like dozens of strip clubs, I believe. And he rented that house out because there was more than one thing going on. It wasn't just poker going on. He was also trying to run 2 other businesses out of there at the same time.
Oh,
one of them was called Selfie Pop, and if you can go on YouTube and type in Selfie Pop, and you got all these girls that went in there and filmed a tour because after I left, they started flying in like 12 new girls every week or every 2 weeks. They'd have.
I mean,
12...
they must have known you left.
Yeah, they were shuffling a new round of girls in there every week or two, and they'd get like first class service. They'd be driving around in limousines with security, with private chefs, and they're just filming content, networking. So the girls loved the experience. There's a lot of videos about it. So that was Selfie Pop, and what seems to be the case, I'm just speculating, but the other business was an OnlyFans profile management company. So there was literally, like, when I first moved into this house, because at first I was living at the Mondrian hotel on Sunset Boulevard, and then they offered me a bedroom. So I'm living there, and when I first moved in there, like, there's literally like an 18-year-old kid sitting on a computer on the second floor, like around the clock, pretending to be a female. So it's an 18-year-old boy pretending to be a female, and he's got a whole stack of exclusive videos and pictures of these girls, and he would charge. He'd be messaging these guys, and they're sending him money, and he's sending the videos of this girl, and what kind of video do you want? And this was going on at this house with these $1 million poker games. And I believe, and it seems like that was probably the intent of Selfie Pop, was to recruit girls for that.
Interesting. Okay, so you then moved to LA. You moved into this house or a different house?
I was living in the Mondrian the entire time, my first short trip, and then
what is the Mondrian?
The Mondrian, I believe, Mondrian.
Mondrian.
They have
I don't know what either one of those things are.
I think they have one in like Miami too, and I'm not sure where else.
So it's a hotel then.
It's a fancy hotel,
Okay.
right on Sunset Boulevard.
Okay, cool.
Very nice hotel. I think I was paying like $500 a night or something.
That's probably why I don't know what it is.
So I was, I was very happy to stop paying all that money and get a room at the mansion.
Okay, but you moved into the Glass House then?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, cool.
I
paid rent. I paid $4,400 rent for 1 bedroom.
Gotcha. Okay, so now the games are going to the Glass House, and you're playing in these high stakes games. I assume we have celebrities, athletes. I assume there's people rolling in, right?
Well, there was Paul Pierce and Irv Gotti, and I played with Gilbert Arenas a couple times, and not too many other celebrities, I would say.
Okay.
It's just it's a unique crowd. It's some people doing illegal shit, and there's mob figures, and there's a heavy presence of Israelis over there, and there's also Armenians that were running games, I believe. A lot of young people taking credit they probably shouldn't be taking.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about the poker then. So what like stakes were going? Like, how big were the games? What was your situation? Like, how much of yourself did you have in these? Like, all that stuff. Let's talk about the poker.
Yeah. So at this point, Meatball and I had brought in another investor, a minority investor. So I was getting 57.5% of my action. I was covering some risk, and I had investors. Meatball was getting 26.5%, and the other guy, he was getting 16.5%. And So I had the majority share of my action, and I was putting up my own money. Partially, I had investors too. Um, the game was, this game. Well, we'll get to that actually. The game typically was 5,000 minimum buy-in a lot of times, and it was like 5 to 15,000. I think was kind of a standard. But there was other games that you could buy in more, and then if the night went on, a lot of times we'd raise the stakes. I think most of the time we'd start at 50, 100 blinds, and sometimes we'd get up to 200, 400 and straddles. It just depends on the crowd and who's stuck.
All right, so you're playing in this game, but then sometimes the stakes are higher, right? And you had your first big win, I think, that was about $820,000.
Yeah. So it wasn't a 820K win. That's how many chips I cashed out. It was 820,000. I can't even remember exactly what I was in for. I'd have to double check, but I cashed out 820,000. This is in early August of 2021. I cashed out 820,000 one night at the Glass House, and I had been playing for 36 hours or something. I was dead tired, and I racked up my chips. I counted them twice, and I took a picture of the chips, and I took them up to the cage and the bar, and gave them to the chip guy, and I said, all right, I'm going to sleep. I can't even keep my eyes open. I gave them to him. I counted them twice. I took a picture. And the next morning, I didn't think anything of it. The next morning, I go to Meatball's place, and he looks at me and says, "Hey, nice job, man. 680,000, sick cash out." And I said, "What do you mean 680,000? I cashed out 820,000. And here's a picture." And you would think.
I'm going to pull that picture up too while you're talking.
Sure. So you would think that, yeah. So not, as you can see, not every chip is visible in this picture. Some of them are hidden, and I even showed you a screenshot of a third-party player who counted them, and he says that he only sees 730,000 that are visible. But what I do know is that the yellows were $25,000 chips. So we got 600,000 in yellows on top, and then the purples were $5,000 chips. So we have another $100,000 in purple. That means that we have 700,000 for sure visible in just the top rack. So this disproves Meatball's claim of 680,000 just off the top rack. We don't even got to look at other chips. We know that Meatball's number is incorrect. And so, however that gets settled when you got chips that aren't visible, I don't know. But what we do know for sure that it's not 680,000. And
okay. Sorry, go ahead.
I provided this picture to Meatball immediately the next day, and I nudged him, and I not nudged the dealers, and I got text history of me going on and on about it, and it was never resolved. I couldn't even get I couldn't even get them to look at it. It seemed they're just pushing the blame, and I'm not getting any resolution. I know that I did eventually ask the dealer, like, "Hey man, it's 820,000," and he told me, "Yes, you're right." However, I had somebody reach out to him last year, and now he's claiming he doesn't remember. He's got amnesia all of a sudden. And the reason for that is that these dealers, they made a lot of money dealing Meatball's games. They want to stay loyal to Meatball. They have incentive.
Yeah. Okay. So basically you cash out for what you believe to be 820. You have a picture, and there's clearly chips like at the bottom rack and the rack next to it. So it seems kind of unlikely to me that it's even just the 700 and whatever number that you listed there. Meatball is saying that it's less money than that. So before we continue on the story, because the story gets pretty crazy from here, why didn't at that point you just decide, like, you know what? this guy is sketchy. They're not paying me the money I owe. Clearly, they're doing this with malintent and leave. Like, why wouldn't you just walk away from the game at that point right there?
Sure. So I was getting to that point. I was getting very frustrated with Meatball, clearly showing no good faith of even trying to resolve it when the picture clearly proved him wrong. And so I was already getting very frustrated. But at the same time, I'm playing in these like crazy Hollywood games, and I'm having fun, and I'm trying to make more money, and I'm kind of just like expecting him. He's gonna like resolve this, right? I just paid the guy $1 million for Usher. Like he's not really gonna just like blow me off about this, is he? I'm just holding out hope that he's going to make it right, and he just didn't. And like 2.5 weeks later, I believe, is when all of this really started.
All right, so you're short 140 from Meatball, and then you play in, is it safe to say, the biggest game of your life?
Yes. Even bigger than the loss that I had, the $1 million loss. I would say this game.
Walk us through that night.
Sure. So this night, I'd have to double check the exact hours, but I played for probably 36 hours. And I played longer than anybody. I think I started the game and finished the game. I don't like to hit and run. I like to keep playing. But anyway, we play for, I don't know, 30 hours or 20 something hours with, a full table, or then we get, 7-handed, 6-handed, 5-handed, 4-handed. Next thing you know, after 20 something hours, it's, the last couple guys are leaving. But before this happens, I mean, it's a pretty action game. I think we had $1 million pot in this game that Craig won. This was Meatball's Craig partner.
Again, the Florida strip club owner guy.
Correct.
And Craig and Meatball are friends or something, right? Or business
partners? They're partners running the poker game then, and they still are partners running poker games, I believe. And not only that, they're also partners with Selfie Pop.
Okay, gotcha.
So they are business partners.
All right, so back to the game.
Yep. So, the game is crazy. We had the one player. I guess I'll name him. Braden was in from Arizona and playing going crazy. I think he even did I think he might have done a $100,000 straddle. I've seen it. I think I've seen him do it a couple times.
Wow.
Where he'll grab 4 25K chips and he'll put them on the button. I have a picture of 100K on the button. That's his straddle. And in fact, one time he did the $100,000 straddle on the button, and we're in Arizona, and I look down and I got aces, and I'm like first to act in Omaha. I got aces, ace. I don't remember ace, jack, whatever. And I don't even have the 100K. I got like $45,000 first to act. So I call all in.
It's a good game.
And he had ace king jack 7 or something, and he beat me. I've seen it. I think he did the 100K straddle this night too at the Glass House in Hollywood.
By chance, was there an automatic shuffler machine in these 100K straddle games?
I can double check my pictures, but I don't believe so.
Because it could be, and I know this is so. Your story is more related to debts and how this unravels from here, but a lot of these games ended up being cheated. Maybe not your game specifically, but many of these high stakes home games. So it's at least worth thinking about the fact that they could have been cheated. It is nice that you were part backed by the guy running the game. So it's never going to be rigged against you, right? Because he has a piece, which is maybe what you have to do these days. I don't even know. But it's certainly worth thinking about the idea that it could be. I'm not saying that guy did. I'm just saying, like, when you see stuff like that and they're winning, you got to be at least a little careful.
Well, there is something that I should mention, and that I don't even know if I mentioned this to you yet, but I did witness cheating. This was during the 3 weeks that I stayed at Meatball's house in Florida, right after the $1 million loss. I stayed at Meatball's house for 3 weeks, and he had other horses that were staying in his apartment also, and we're all trying to get the Meat Lounge game going. And I have intent. We're all sitting in the same apartment.
The Meat Lounge is too much, bro.
So we got four of us sitting in one apartment playing 8-handed Meat Lounge table.
It does sound like a Meat Lounge.
Yep. So half the table is in one room, and I just lost. I feel bad. I owe this guy a bunch of money. I'm okay. I'll play in the same room as you, but I'm sitting in my own corner with my iPad, and I'm not cheating. I'm like staying legit, but this is happening. And over the course of these 3 weeks, I witnessed Meatball cheating with his other horses, and they did it right in front of me.
Like colluding, like they'd share cards and stuff?
Yes, there'd be a big river decision, and he'd be like, I folded the ace of spades, or I folded 2 jacks.
Okay.
And these are live hands, we're talking like 30, 40, 50K pots, and they're getting cheating. They're getting advice on the river to make their decision.
Yeah, I mean, that's clear cheating.
Yeah, so I'm happy to name one of those guys, Joe Liberta. They call him Corn. Joe Corn Liberta is
Corn and Meatball just going to town.
Yep. So I witnessed this, and at this point it's just he said, she said, but I'm not making this up. I saw it multiple times. I saw them do it verbally and through text message. And not only that, there was also, and right before all this was happening, there was another incident of, I don't know if you know, Petco is a player, PLO player. I forget his last name, Petko. But anyway, Petco got busted cheating in a different club, a different Omaha club, and he sent his cards to the game host on accident, mid-hand, and instead of his friend, and got busted. Next thing you know, he gets Petco, I'm sorry, gets blacklisted in every club. But guess who's willing to let Petco play? Meatball.
Yeah.
So I think Meatball was in on that when Petco got busted prior, and nobody wanted to play with Petco. He just got busted cheating, blacklisted. So Meatball told him, create a new account. The name of this account was Wawa Hustler, WAWA Hustler. And that is the account name that Petco was secret accounting everybody under Meatball. So if Meatball was cheating with Corn, they're probably doing it with Petco too. So this was happening. I witnessed this. However, I did see them cheat online in the Meat Lounge, but I'm sticking to my story that all of the live games I played were legit as far as I know.
Okay, that's totally fair. Let's go back to this big night. So you're playing in this game. You're playing a 36-hour potentially session. You start the game. It's Ring. You've been playing for a long time. You win about $400,000. And then it gets to the point where the game is coming to a conclusion, but there's one player that still wants to play heads up.
Yep. So we get down to the final 2 players, and at this point, I'm up $440,000, and he is down $400,000. And his name is Idan Asayag. IDAN ASAYAG. And so Idan is he's got smoke coming out of his ears. He's on raging tilt, and he's down 400K. That's probably already his biggest loss of his life at this point, 400. And I had played with him a few times prior, and he was a very action gambling player, and he hadn't gotten really hurt yet, taking a big loss. Luck had been on his side, but this time he wanted to push his luck and try to get even on that. So we agree to play heads up PLO, and we agree that the blinds will be 500, 1,000, and this wasn't even enough to satisfy Idan. Idan wanted bigger. So instead of playing 500, 1,000 as we agreed, he insists that we must be allowed to straddle any position 2,000. So what ended up happening is that Idan is just straddling 2,000 every hand in the heads up.
It's
And
pretty good
I'm
heads
putting,
up.
yeah, so I'm putting out
I've
either
never, I've,
500
I
or
don't think
1K.
I've never even heard of someone straddling heads up. I don't even think that's a thing.
Yeah, I've never seen it either. But that's what we were doing, and he was doing it every hand, and I was just okay, go ahead. And so we're battling heads up, and honestly, I ran really great. You know, I hit every card I needed to hit. I did a few 2 or 3 big bluffs. He just snap folded. It was really just like the smoothest heads up match of my life. Everything worked my way, and I end up taking $800,000 from Idan heads up. And this was over the course of multiple buy-ins. I forget exactly how many, but I know for sure the last buy-in, he said, "Can I get 300,000 chips?" So he's calling for a 300K rebuy when he's already down 900K. And Meatball and Craig, they give it to him. And they seem to be fine with it. You know, they're raking their $300 a hand or whatever it was, and they're loaning $300,000 to Idan. I didn't loan money to Idan. The house did, you know, and you know, it's crazy that I still have not been paid this money because it's very. I don't think it's.
Let's wrap up with the game first. Okay, so you win 800K heads up versus Edon, right? It was an Israeli guy in Southern California, and then you also win 440K in this ring game beforehand. So you finish up $1.24 million on your session, and then at the conclusion of the game, you know, the next day you're settling whatever it is. What happens then?
You know, I'm reassured by Meatball and Craig, like, "Oh, you're gonna get your money. We're gonna sort this out. Nice job." They're all happy for me. I'm on top of the world, and I got these guys telling me you're good, and I had just paid $1 million to Meatball for Osher. I'm thinking like, you know, this guy. There's no way this guy would do me dirty. You know, I thought it was life changing. Honestly. However, you know, they basically told me that we will give you credit for the 440,000. You'll get paid the 440 that from the main game, but they want, as far as the heads up money, the $800,000 that I won heads up off of Edon. They said we're going to keep that separate, whatever that means. So this was set aside, my 800,000, and it, you know, it gets pretty juicy from here. You know, long story short, I'm still waiting on my money, but you know, now we can kind of tie it all together, how this connects to Gilbert Arenas and Chauncey Billups and today's FBI announcement.
Yeah, so okay, so they credit you the 440 to your balance, right? But they say that the 800 is to the side and that they can't pay you that or whatever. And I would assume that's because, at least what they're saying, is the other player was not going to pay the money. This Edon guy or Edon?
Edon.
Okay.
So, you know, at first they're thinking he is going to pay, and so the money that the heads up match was August 28th, 2021. And if you look into the Gilbert Arenas investigation, this began 2 weeks later. So the investigators kind of just missed me, you know.
Maybe a good thing to miss.
Yeah. But here we are, and I want to tell my story and get the truth out there. And so, you know, shortly after that, you know, they're just reassuring me money. And I think 2 weeks later is when, you know, I played a couple games here and there, nothing substantial up or down that I recall. However, now we're fast forwarding to the night that Paul Pierce does his Hall of Fame speech, the night that he gets inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame. This is a Sunday night, I believe, or most likely, because me and Craig were at a SoFi Stadium for the football game, and we tailgated all day and went to the game, and then we got Paul Pierce. He's just on TV accepting his award, and he's texting us like, I want to come play poker, So we did like a special 2 a.m. Paul Pierce Hall of Fame game, and I lost a little bit. I don't know, 54,000. I think I lost. I don't even. I have to double check. Nothing crazy, but Meatball was giving me a hard time about chips. So I said, you know what? Like, I'm still waiting on this $140,000 that you haven't sorted out. You're telling me my $800,000 is getting set aside, and you're not really giving me any good faith payments or any real confidence here. I decided during this Hall of Fame poker game, I decided, you know what? I'm just going to terminate this staking deal. So, and who would even do that? Imagine you're living in a mansion playing poker with NBA stars and rap icons, and you got investors paying for most of it. Who in their right mind would even end this agreement, this deal? It's kind of like a dream for even me, anybody.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a dream position to be in. Who would even terminate it unless you were really, really sure that you can't trust the people? So I had made up my mind that night that I'm terminating it, and I don't trust this guy, and you need to pay me the $140,000 as well as the sort out the heads up money. And so I terminated the deal. I went to sleep.
So your share of what you're still owed is probably like $550K approximately, right? Because you had some that had to pay out to the other two guys. One of them was Meatball, and then to the third guy. And you are personally owed $550,000 that they've not paid over the course of this period of time, right?
$540,500.
Okay.
Yep.
It's a significant balance, by the way, to carry for a while, particularly when you've already made this person all their money back from the Asher thing before, or whatever. And so I'm sorry that you had to go through that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a headache. I even took the last year off of poker. I'm building an escrow app, because we need some kind of solution. I'd be happy to tell you more about that later, but we could stay on topic here.
Yeah, let's stay on topic. Okay, so you're done. You're out. Phone off. I'm good.
Yeah.
So you decide you cut it. You tell them it's over, and then what happens?
I go to sleep in the mansion. I wake up bright and early, maybe 8 o'clock in the morning. It's a beautiful day outside. We got this beautiful big pool with the Hollywood sign in the backyard, and I decide I'm just gonna float in the pool for all afternoon. And I sat in a float tube for 3-4 hours in this pool and just chilling. And meanwhile, I got Meatball texting me about last night, like, "Oh, I hope you bring that same energy with me." He's telling me. So anyway, I'm floating in the pool, just living my best life. And I get out of the pool. I walk in. I'm still dripping wet in my bathing suit. I walk in and I see we got Craig and Craig's guy and Meatball sitting at the poker table. And I walk up. I take a seat, and I listen. And they're talking. And what happened is, at this point, Meatball owes Craig $500,000, and Craig is pissed. Craig is saying, "Where's my $500,000? You got to pay me." And Meatball is just making up excuses, and I jump in and I say, "Yeah, you owe me $500,000 too. When do I get my money?" And that's all I said. Meatball doesn't say a word. He stands up. He's got this like dead look in his eye, and he just starts slowly creeping towards me. Doesn't say a word. Just got this dead look in his eye, and he walks around the poker table, and he jumps on top of me. I'm sitting in a poker chair, a rolling poker chair with the arms, and I got this 300-pound fat Meatball jumping on top of me. My arms are trapped. I can't move. This guy weighs twice as much as me, and and he's got me with two hands choking me. I'm just getting choked out, and I can't move my arms. I'm dripping wet. I'm slipping, and I'm in a rolling chair. And this whole ordeal.
He's got you sandwiched.
Meatball had me sandwiched. Yeah, you could say that. And so this whole ordeal probably lasted less than 30 seconds. And Craig and his guy jumped up and they ripped them off of me. They don't want me just getting choked out in their living room. The fuck, So they pull him off of me. And now I'm like face to face with Meatball. And I'm like, fuck this. I went to swing as hard as I could. And I slipped because I was wet from the pool. So I tried my best to swing on that motherfucker, but I missed.
Okay, so he basically choked you out in this chair, and people had to jump in and save you. And then after you got saved, then you took your swing.
Correct.
Okay, give him one for the road.
Yeah. But I missed because I slipped. I was all wet. I didn't have shoes on.
All right, so now Meatball's attacked you. You're owed all this money. What do we do from here?
Yeah. So after he attacks me, now Meatball's on the phone with Craig's other roommate, and talking to Craig. Dazzo's got to go. You got to send Dazzo home. And here I am in Detroit. He told me, take your ass back to 8 Mile. Is what he told me. I got kicked out of the house. Even though I paid a whole month's rent, I get kicked out halfway through. That's what happened, and I warned them. I said, "This guy is a scammer. This guy, you can't trust this guy. He's gonna get you guys too." And they didn't listen. And guess what? Like 2 or 3 months later, I get a text from Craig's partner who says, "I'm sorry, Dazzo. You were right about Meatball." So that felt nice that I got an apology. But at the end of the day, they kicked me out, and I flew back to Detroit, and I with a very large outstanding balance, unpaid, and in fact, the night of the Paul Pierce Hall of Fame game, I played on my own and I cut Meatball, and I owed $27,000. I sent it. With a $540,000 balance outstanding, I sent them $27,000 in good faith.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have sent them the money at that point. All right, so let's tie this back in. So let's get back to how this ends up relating to the NBA story that broke, right? Because we have these debts. You're owed all this money. You played in all these illegal games, whatever. Now, what happens to link this to what happened with these NBA players?
Sure. So I won the money on August 28th, and I flew home on September 16th. And a few months go by. I'm in Detroit. I'm texting for updates. I'm not hearing much. However, I believe in February, I receive a picture from Meatball, and it's dated January 26th, I think, or late January of 2022. And this is a cease and desist letter that is from Idan Asayag's lawyer, and it's written to Craig Franz. And what they're asking for is to
the
stop.
Guy that lost all that money to you, heads up, written to the attorney of the guy that's partnered with Meatball running the game.
Yep.
Okay.
And they're asking to stop threatening us. You're threatening. You should here. Let's show this.
Yeah, which one do you want to show?
Did I send you the lawyer letter yet?
I have the murder that happened in that house. I have the article of the Israeli guy with the gun.
Pull this up.
Which one where do we start here?
This is the letter from Idan Asayag's lawyer asking Craig to cease and desist, and stop threatening grenades, and you say you're going to call people from all different countries. And
you want me to put that up on the screen?
Yeah.
Here it is. Send it over.
Here it is.
And by the way, guys, I've got like a few different sources here confirming some parts of the story. Obviously, I can't vouch for all of this. I wasn't there. But it does link together in a way where at least some of these stories, some of this seems to make a lot of sense to me. I know people in the chat are like, this seems kind of crazy, but let's just go through it. Okay, so we have all right, here we go. I will pull this up for you guys.
So what really links this to the Gilbert Arenas case is that there were threats of grenades. They threatened grenades. Okay, how often?
Grenade's a weird threat, by the way. Can we admit that's a weird threat? Like not like grenades specifically.
Specifically, grenades are mentioned in this, and also in the Gilbert Arenas indictment, which was covered by Poker News.
Okay, so I am counsel to Iden Asayag and Reiner demand to immediately cease and desist from making threats or communication threats, demanding make payments of an alleged debt. That debt is what he lost to you. He was intoxicated at the time. Oh, this is great. This is great. Was he drinking during the game?
Yes, he had smoke coming out of his ears.
Okay, so I mean, if he was drinking, you can't really settle the debt, right? Poker games would be great if I was drinking, guys. I was didn't Leon Sukernick do this in a Matt Kirk issue back in the day? I don't know if you heard about that. He was too drunk to pay the debt. Anyway, I wish I'd gotten some of this. If I'd known this strategy, I would have lost a lot less money on Poker Night in America. But anyway, as you know, in August 2021, you invited him the evening of August 28th, claiming my client owes you 1.2 million. October 15th, you and Mr. Asayag discussed the situation, entered into an agreement. Okay, so there was an agreement, and he made the first payment on November 1st. Did you know about this agreement?
I did not. And in fact, I just asked Idan last week, how much did you pay? He said 0. So I'm not sure what that payment was, because now he's telling me he paid 0.
Okay. All right. And then let me just, so going on here, multiple individuals using the name, people from all around the world, Mexico, United States, Russia, and more countries will come after you, your family, and your parents. Initially, they demanded $700K, followed by monthly installments of $10K until he paid $700K, etc. He has informed you of the threats on December 8th. At that time, you claimed to have not known him, etc., etc. And then let me go to the next page here. But before I do it, let me just make sure this is like safe for. Okay. All right. It looks good. Okay. You told Shu Shan you would call Mr. Asayag to confirm everything has been taken care of. Mr. Asayag has not heard from you since December 15th, 2021, despite your earlier statement, etc. Okay. So to not just go through every single thing here, because of extensive threats of physical and emotional harm. Wait, hold on.
You missed the grenades.
Hold on. Where's the grenades?
Right
Mr. Asayag has been threatened several times that if he fails to meet the demands for payment, that grenades will be used against him, his family, parents, and property. Your associates continue to say they are looking for Mr. Asayag, and when they find him, 5 people will be waiting and will stab him. Because of the extensive threats of physical and emotional harm and the emotional distress and anxiety that you and your associates have caused, Mr. Asayag has been suffering from severe insomnia for months. I'll admit, you might lose some sleep over this. This is potentially sleep-losing worthy. Anyway, it has also caused serious marital discord because his wife fears for her husband, and her children's safety. That's really messed up. In addition, Mr. Asayag has lost a tremendous amount of business because he's unable to attend to it, etc. They have fled the area. Okay. So if you and your associates do not immediately cease and desist from the aforementioned act, Mr. Asayag will take any and all lawful actions against you, including but not limited to filing a lawsuit for substantial monetary damages, including, among other causes of action, intentional infliction of emotional distress, civil extortion, and fraud. Okay.
So now, if you want to pull up the LA Times article, it will say that the whole Gilbert Arenas investigation started when somebody lost $1.2 million and they ran to the LAPD because they were getting threatened.
Okay.
It's paywalled. You might have to click the PDF I sent you.
Oh, they're going to get me for $5 here? Is that how this ends? The exciting conclusion of this story is Doug pays the LA Times $5. Son of a bitch. All right. You know what? For justice, Philip, I'm willing to get my wallet out. And if someone on YouTube could donate the $5 to cover this the story. It would go a long way. All right, I'm logged in.
And this story ties the
Oh, it's
case to
$1. That's pretty good.
multiple murders. Actually,
Oh my
we
God,
got
they're gonna.
we have a girl missing,
One
and
second,
we
we need
have
credit card information.
someone
Keep
that was
going.
shot in the face.
Yeah, so the shot in the face thing. While I pull this up, can you explain to me a little bit about that? Because I have that article too. We're gonna look at that in a second. But can you
So
explain what happened with the shot in the face thing? Because I
I
actually heard about the story separately through some people that are in the LA private game scene. By the way, if you didn't need any other reasons to not play in the private games in LA, this seems like a nice one. But go ahead, go ahead for it.
Yeah, that's why I have not been back. I actually couldn't tell you any details about I think her name was Heidi Plank. She went missing. I don't know if I don't think I ever met her. I believe it all happened after I left. And then the other I forget the gentleman's name, but there was a man that was shot in the face in that is tied to all of this potentially, according to the LA Times.
1 second here. I gotta get my credit card security code in. I'm agreeing to a continuous subscription, by the way. This is the commitment to journalism here at Poker News Productions. Okay, I can turn to the article. All right, here we go.
So this is, I didn't even know that I was involved. I played out there for a couple months. I met Gilbert Arenas like twice. And, I knew we were in the same circles. That's not the article, by the way.
Oh no.
This one has Hollywood Hills murder in the headline.
Let me just make sure I didn't dox myself. Okay. I think I'm good. All right. Let's see. We're at Hollywood Hills murder. Okay. Hollywood Hills murder, LA Times.
Gilbert Arenas.
Oh, thank you very much, by the way, to Pickle Scratcher for the $5 and John Party Vlogs $6 to $7 Canadian. Thank you guys very much for covering this article. Okay, so let's look at this one first, right? Because this is definitely one that is worth looking at.
Yep,
Inside the high stakes Cloudstone poker world that led to a Hollywood Hills murder. So this is the house that you lived in for a while, right?
No, that I don't think that. No, I think it's a different house.
Oh, sorry. It just looks similar. Now, you know what? In retrospect, that's a different house. Okay.
So look at the first thing they say is my $1.2 million they're talking about.
Authorities say illegal card games hosted at mansions in Encino, Sherman Oaks, and Hollywood Hills bring together Israeli organized crime figures, Latino gang members, and gamblers who racked up debts as high as $1.2 million. So you think this is the $1.2 million that Edon lost in the game versus you?
Yeah. So Edon's lawyer sent the letter January 26th, and by, I believe, July, they're raiding Gilbert's house.
Damn, that's crazy if that's really what got this going. So this basically someone got killed over poker debts, right?
Yeah. But there's see what it says right there? He lost 1.2 million playing cards, went to LAPD.
Okay, so when a desperate man sought help from the LAPD. Okay, this right here. All right, this one. So
what did it to me. That's how I realized
that this is Edon.
Yeah.
Okay. So he goes to the police, and then they investigate because of this debt, the games that are going on. Oh, exactly. Yeah, this definitely sounds right. When he stopped making payments, he told police Israeli mob figures threatened to kidnap his children and toss a grenade into his home. I mean, that's clearly the same thing that you just showed us.
Yep.
The man who owed $1.2 million explained to LAPD how the games worked. Or owed $1.2 million, rather. The buy-in was usually $15,000. That's what you said. Most players didn't exchange cash, but played on what's known as a marker, settling up. There were women, alcohol, drugs, and guns readily available. Why do you need guns?
Well, we had, security where we got people outside. They sit outside in the garage with their guns, and, you ain't pulling up to this house to rob it. We have our own security.
But it makes it sound like, you're doing all these four things. It's like, yeah, and we got guns. Like, okay.
Yeah, they make it sound pretty bad.
Glass house, All this stuff makes sense here too. The man was betting large. If he lost, he could accuse the host of cheating and refuse to pay his marker. His losses reached 1.2 million. Wait, what about this? What about this part of the story? The man said he noticed the host was making odd bets. He counted the cards and came to believe 2 aces were missing. You see that before?
I'd be happy to address this. And I confronted Idan on a phone call last week about this. So Idan claims, I got more details on this. Idan claims that he counted the deck. I think he said he ripped it out of the dealer's hand and counted the deck. And this was when we're playing four-handed. It was, to my best memory, it was Idan, it was me, and Craig, and Braden. And Meatball might have been in the game too, so maybe we were five-handed.
Oh, Meatball was playing in the game with you that he had a piece of you?
Yes. Sometimes. Okay. Sometimes, not always.
Was that disclosed to other players or not?
I think people kind of knew that. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. I mean, if people knew I think it's fine. But generally speaking, you don't want to like have action crossing like that.
Yeah. I mean, I could tell you that maybe the sickest bluff I've ever made, it was against Meatball. So I mean, I was playing him hard. I went all in 35,000 with nothing against him. Like it's very interesting hand, but we want
to get into that. The biggest bluff you ever made against Meatball was when you won 800,000. Because it doesn't sound like that one got called.
Yeah.
Forced the joke. All right. Anyway, so so I guess like this goes on to talk about some other things to do with Idan. But let's maybe find that other article. Unless there's something else in here that was important.
Well, one thing I just heard today, actually, you see where it says Gable Drive? So the game was on Gable Drive, towards the bottom. Yep. Yeah. So I actually just heard today from someone who lives on Gable Drive that they saw authorities outside yesterday or like late last night. And they were raiding one of the houses on that street. However, it was not Gilbert's house. It was a different house. And so I don't know any details about that or whose house that was. I don't know. But someone I talked to saw it happening today or late last night.
Okay, so who was the guy that got shot? You don't really know who this was then?
It's that guy with the L.A. last name or whatever. L.A. I think I just saw it, but I don't think I ever met this guy.
Lahaziel?
I think that's him. Yeah, but I don't think
was he also Israeli?
I think so. He's got an Instagram page with pictures and showing off and shit.
I see.
Somebody sent it to me. But I don't think I've ever met this guy either. And who's the picture of?
That's the guy that's an alleged murderer.
Oh. I don't think I know him either.
It's probably good, Philip.
Yeah.
Okay, let's find that other article here. I'll pull it up. So what was the other one called you wanted to dive into?
Well, there's a poker news article that we could get into.
Did you explain the aces thing, by the way?
Oh, no. So I believe we were five-handed and 4 or 5-handed. And Idan, I don't remember this. You know, I was drinking too, and I don't remember this. And I don't know if I ran to the bathroom or if I was just too drunk. But Idan claims, I believe his claim from last week, I talked to him on the phone. I believe Idan's claim is that he ripped the cards out of the dealer's hand and he counted them. And it was missing 2 aces. And I don't remember this, but he claims that we all just said, oh, okay, let's just get a new deck and keep playing. You know, we're playing, you know, we played $1 million pot right around that same time. So you're telling me that we're playing $1 million pots with missing cards? Like, I think everybody would say, game's over, what the fuck is going on? That didn't happen. So Idan's claim is that we all realized there's missing cards and we all just said, whatever, let's keep playing.
Well, it's a pretty normal thing, I think, from what I've heard. I've played 0 private games in my life, so I'm probably not the guy, but from what I've heard, when people don't want to pay, they usually try to say the game is rigged or cheated. That's like that's the go-to, because then if the game is cheated, well, you shouldn't have to pay because you're being cheated against. In fact, I think like Paul Pierce has a lawsuit against him where he didn't pay a game that was owed, and now it's being battled out in the courts, right?
I know the guy.
You know the guy they didn't get paid.
I know. Yes, I know the guy that went public with that on Paul.
Who was it?
Laker Steve.
Lakers Steve. Okay.
He had ties to the Lakers.
Oh, I thought his first name was Lakers.
No, he was like, I think he worked for Jerry Buss or something.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Steve would be a weird last name.
Yeah.
So, but Paul Pierce owed money from a game that he was claiming, and I don't know if the game was rigged or not. But that is just like a common thing that people do when they don't want to pay out in a game, is they like say that it was rigged.
Yeah. That game was legit. I played that game.
Okay, gotcha. So going back to what other articles here do we need to pull up? There's one LA Times one that I didn't pull up that you said was wrong. Can you tell me which one that was?
I just wanted to show you the how the LA Times murder article, because it says
we got the right one.
It says that the Gilbert investigation started with someone losing $1.2 million and
okay, gotcha. So
getting threatened with grenades. So that that ties everything together.
So here's the whole story. So basically, you play this guy. He loses 1.2 million. He now owes the wrong people money. They start making threats. He becomes panicked. He goes to the authorities about it. They launch an investigation. In their investigation, they discover Gilbert Arenas' private game where he's taking a rake illegally. That went public earlier this year. And then in exchange to try and get his sentence lowered or reduced or out or whatever it was, thrown out, Gilbert then went to the feds with him saying, I can give you this bigger fish, which is Chauncey Billups, and which is why we've seen earlier today some of these posts from Gilbert Arenas on social media about like snitching or whatever, right?
Yeah, he's owning it. He's claiming it. He's proudly claiming it.
It's crazy that this is how it works now. But I'll just pull up an article on this.
If you could pull up No Chill Gil on Instagram, you can see the posts he's doing.
No Chill Gil Instagram.
He's even got the bad boys. What you gonna do? He's got the cop song playing.
No Chill Gil. Definitely no chill on this, for the record. Okay, so sharing this. Okay, so where is he owning it? These are pinned.
Maybe click the video thing.
Right here?
No.
Okay.
Above locker room, the play button to the right.
Here? Above it? Oh, this button.
I think, is that gonna?
Did you take it down?
No, he's been posting all day. You gotta go down. He even posted this.
How far down is it? How much is this guy posting?
Hang on. Well, you can post this one that looks like they're in court. That's something to do with it. It's a movie scene.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Gilbert Arenas stitching on Chauncey Billups.
Yeah, he just posted this.
Okay, so basically, you beat this guy. He gets threatened. He goes to the authorities. The authorities look into this. They find Gilbert Arenas. Gilbert Arenas says, "Oh, you know what? I'll give you Chauncey Billups." And now here we are at Chauncey Billups. And it all started with one night where Meatball owes you a bunch of money.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is if you read the indictments and the charges, Meatball's name and Craig Franz's name, they are nowhere to be found. So what happened? What happened here? Why are their names nowhere to be found? Who did they snitch on? What kind of deal did they make? And what I do know is that Craig told me that Edon doesn't believe it was Craig making the threats. But we have the lawyer letter, which proves that it was Craig from Edon. And I also have recording of Edon making these same claims that, yes, it was Craig making the threats. So the official story with the with the news right now is that it was the Israeli mob running the game. I think they pinned it all on Gershman. If you pull up the Poker
Okay, yeah,
News
let's look at this.
article,
I found this to be very interesting. Oops, shoot. I found this to be very interesting as well. So there was an article from Poker News from 2 weeks ago that I didn't realize was posted, but you brought up to me, which I thought was pretty interesting. So prosecutors say alleged Israeli mobster and NBA's stars illegal poker games case is a threat. And in here, it goes into the details of essentially the
grenade threats.
Yeah, the grenade threats.
Yeah. You could even play that video if you want. That was a good one.
I'm not sure if they're going to be able to hear that.
Yeah, I don't hear it. But anyway, okay. What I think happened here, because I got Craig telling me that not even Edan believes that it was me threatening. So that means that they are all in cahoots. We got the Three Stooges. We got Meatball, Craig, and Edan. And they seem to have squashed that balance with Edan. It seems that Edan doesn't owe them anymore, because what Edan told me is that he saw Gershman, who they call Giora, he saw Giora at somewhere this year, and they gave each other a big hug, Edan said. So now we go from getting threatened with grenades to now we're giving each other a big hug. Seems like it got squashed, and they squashed it at my expense. They used my money as Craig and Edan. I'm sorry, Craig and Meatball used my money as their get out of jail free card. This ain't Monopoly.
Yeah, so basically they like carved you out. Like, okay, we'll agree to a number in the middle, and then we'll settle that, and then the money that's not paid is the money you're owed.
Correct. So what I think happened is the three of them are in cahoots, and they lied to prosecutors to push all of the blame onto the Israeli mob. If you read this article, it says that the Israeli mob was running the game, but they weren't. The Israeli mob was just the muscle. Gershman was just the muscle for Craig and Meatball, is my understanding. And, as far as I'm concerned, Gershman is replaceable. You can go find another goon. Meatball and Craig are still running high-stakes pot limit Omaha games, dealing with large numbers, and they are, I believe that they are a threat to the community, and they are just going to go steal from someone else. If they did it to me, why wouldn't they do it to someone else?
Yeah.
So they're threatening people trying to collect, and they're threatening people when they owe. They jumped me when they owed me.
Yeah. So this Gershman guy, you think it's like a decoy, right?
Yeah, he's just the fall guy.
Gotcha. Why would he do it? Why would he fall for this?
It sounds like he was already involved in helping to run the games. He was already probably doing the books and giving people the chips when they borrow. You got to borrow from this guy, and I even read that there's messages where he was recruiting girls for the game. So he was involved. Gershman seems to have been involved, but he wasn't the boss.
Right.
He worked for Craig and Meatball, is my understanding.
I see. Okay, gotcha. All right, a fascinating story, man. And you were right there. Didn't realize you were the first domino to fall.
Yeah. So what I would really like to see is I'd love to get my money. That's rightfully owed to me.
I thought you were going to talk about justice for a little bit. You're like, guys, what I think we really need to take away from here is me getting my fucking money.
Yeah.
No, anyway.
I'll tell you what though. A couple of days ago, I was offered 70. So 4 years they're not offering me anything, and all of a sudden I got offered 50,000 after I said, "Hey, look at this video I have of Edan." I got randomly offered $50,000. I said no. Then I got offered $70,000. This was like a few nights ago. So I got offered $70,000 out of the $540,000. which amounts to 13 cents on the dollar, and I told them, shove it up your ass. So
yeah, I mean, that's a pretty
I could have taken $70,000 and shut up, and we wouldn't be on this podcast. But the truth is more important to me to get out there than $70,000. I don't care. I want the truth to be out there, and if I don't get paid after this, then so be it. You know, to me, the truth needs to be out there. And
yeah, and I appreciate you taking the time to tell your story. I think it's a really interesting one, and I'm sorry you went through all that. There were probably some exits to the highway you could have gotten off earlier, but you got off the highway eventually, and still you shouldn't have had to deal with all the shit that you went through. So I'm sorry you went through that.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Doug.
All right, any closing comments here, Philip? Any last thing?
No, I don't think so. But I appreciate you having me on and allowing me to tell my story. And we'd love to get some feedback from people. I think most people, or maybe everybody, agrees that I'm owed the money, and I'd love to have people realize that. And also, the people who are responsible for all of this, forget about my debt. The people who are out there threatening grenades and threatening to kidnap children, and hiring the Israeli mob, and they're jumping people. I mean, these are not the right people that should be running the highest PLO games. It's not a safe environment for the next poker player that wants to take his shot. And I hope that there is some justice served. I hope that the prosecutors, if I'm correct, I hope that the prosecutors realize that they were lied to, and I hope these guys get what's coming to them.
And I think it was very brave of you to come forward with your story, because you got all this going on, but you felt like it was the right thing to do. And also, like, if you're going to have this happen to you, you want to protect other people. I mean, I've had to come forward with some times I've gotten scammed over the years, that, it sucks to go forward, because a lot of times what happens is people will actually blame the person they got scammed. It's a very common thing people do. You go after the victim. They should have known, they made a mistake. Are they telling the truth? There were all this stuff, and it's wrong. We need people in the poker. Look, the poker community is built on trust, and the reality is, like, sometimes money has to move around a bunch of different ways. And when someone is acting unethically and stealing from that, you want to know. You want that public, because it protects other people. And maybe people laughed at the ways I got scammed a couple of times over my career, but I think it helped protect people from it happening to them. And so I think you're doing the right thing.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I hope it does protect somebody. If it protects one person for $1, it was all worth it.
Okay, awesome. All right, man. Well, thank you, Philip, and thank you guys for tuning in for today's story. We're gonna have some more coverage of all of the sports and poker rigging stuff going on with this Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier story. We'll be covering it right here on the channel. So stay tuned for more content, and of course, tomorrow we'll be back with the Code Doug Challenge, 9 a.m. We'll be playing some Heads Up or PLO or whatever it is. I'll see you guys in the morning. And I just posted a video on the Martin Cabral game, so check that out if you haven't had a chance to. Philip, once again, thank you. Peace, everybody.
Thank you. See you guys.